Welcome to our roundtable discussion. This is the final segment, but it is the most important. It is sponsored by CWA Local 1180 and its president, Gloria Middleton. We will hear from her in just a second. The bottom line here, why is it important to be involved in a union? It bears repeating. Why is it important to be involved in a union? We know the answer, but I want you to hear from the president and four members on what they have to say as it relates to their own personal experiences. Around the table, we are joined by Amanda Novello. Amanda is a representative from the private sector shops. She works at the Century Foundation. We are joined by Sharon Hepburn. Sharon is an administrative manager with the New York City Comptroller's Office. We're joined also on the panel by Mr. Anthony Lewis, who is a PAA at HRA, and Mary Mason. Mary is a local 1180 retiree from HRA. President Middleton, our final segment, let's get to what is the most important question. Why is it important to be involved in a union?
I'm going to answer that two ways. First of all, it's important to be in a union. Workers are under attack. I don't care who you work for. I don't care whether you're private sector or public sector, you need a union. I read an article earlier today about if we are going to fight against the injustices that is going on in this country right now, we need to form more labor unions. Just read it this morning. We don't have money power, but we have people power. And the more we band together in an organization, that's how we win. And the more that people understand that, that's how we will win against this country. Being involved in a union is even more important because you learn a lot of things that you will not see on TV. You will learn about what's not being said on radio. You will learn what the real story is that's going on in this country. You will learn about your rights. You will learn what it takes to be a worker in New York City or in this country. You will learn about the real story of immigrants and how they came into this country. You will learn so many things that is just not being publicized anymore. I also saw earlier today in a news feed that they are going to start to teach now what a swastika is to young people, because it's not taught in the schools anymore. Teach them about what a noose means to an African American, because they have no idea. When some of these young people were arrested and they asked them questions as to why they drew the sign or did a noose, they thought it was funny because they're not taught the history of what happened and what that swastika means and what that noose means. In labor unions, we talk about history. We talk about labor history. It's important because your rights are being taken away from you this day, whether you're white, black, green, yellow, blue, whatever your sexuality is. They want us to go backwards. And I'll ask the panel their opinions about why they think it's so important to be in a union. Let's start with.
Well, as a retiree, it is very important. Simply because you have backing. There is nothing more important than when you're in a situation and when you're working and knowing that you have backing by your union. And when you retire, that backing is still there. A lot of people feel just because you retire, you lose certain benefits. But I'm here to tell you, we keep our benefits with our union, with 1180. And I think there's no better place to be than to be involved in a union.
When I talk to people that work in private industries and I let them know that I work for the city and we have a union, they tell me how lucky I am. They wish they was in my situation or my position or my work location. But because they have no pension to fall back on, I don't want to work forever. I do want to retire. And I want to retire with a pension. Also, the union provided me with a lawyer to help me buy a house, provided me with a lawyer to go through this divorce I went through. Without that, that would be so much out-of-pocket money that I probably had to wait long. I would probably still be married now if I didn't have the access to a lawyer. It helped me get my degree. It just taught me a lot about working for a union. I encourage my children to find a job with a union because of benefits. You get the eye coverage. You just get a lot of different benefits working with a union.
The importance of being in a union, like for me, I work in a building. During the winter, the building is cold in the morning hours, and after 12, that's when the heat comes up. So an issue like that is brought to the union. They can come and test the temperature to see whether it's safe for an employee to be in the environment at the time when it's freezing or below zero, whatever the temperature is at the time. And also the union, being in a union helped to improve your quality of life. If it wasn't for the union, we wouldn't have a job, period. And raises, which is being given by favoritism and nepotism and all the isms there is. So it's very important to stick with the union.
And what do you do in the building? You said it's cold, the heat doesn't come up until noon. So what do you do during the working hours between 9 a.m. and noon?
Well, the process is you call your union rep and they contact the union, and the procedure is a union member would come in and test to see, technically speaking, they're supposed to send the workers home or fix the problem. That's basically how it works.
I think that having a union is about having power, at least in the workplace and also outside of it, because as everyone has mentioned, everyone has workplace issues and the union helps with those. But I think part of being in a union is part of being in an institution that's built on solidarity and helping other people, because, you know, it might not be my issue, but someone next to me is sitting there suffering, and if you don't have a union, they're scared to say anything about it. So I can mention a lot of examples, but I think that's basically the point. And I think it's crazy how many people don't have unions and how many people are scared to think about having a union. I appreciate coming into a workplace that had unionized, a private sector shop that after Trump got elected, people got together and thought about how to have some power over their lives and how to have some sense of democracy in the workplace. And it was a collegial process going through and becoming a union. But I think there are a lot of ways that people in power tried to maintain their power, and it was a 9-month process of negotiating our contract that ended up being really great, and we have a lot of benefits that we wouldn't have had before, but you really have to fight for it. But I think it's really worth it.
In summing up how important a union is, I got involved with unions because my father was a longshoreman and was part of a union with 8 children. If it had not been for the union and those benefits, he could not afford to send 8 children to a doctor. He could not afford to send 8 children to a dentist. And I'm talking many years ago, before you were born.
So, Madam President,
Yes.
so this is real for you, and,
Yes.
and it's an emotional issue
Yes,
for you.
very much so, very much so. As a woman of color, this was my way to climb up and change my life.
Through the union.
Through the union. I came out of the projects of New York City Housing Authority. And with the union, I was able to bring myself out of that and be able to raise a child. And I am a single mother. He's grown now, thank goodness. But if it had not been for a union job, I don't know how I would have done it. That's the personal part of being a union member.
I just want to be clear here, because I have learned so much over the last couple of weeks. I'm going to reference that in 1 second. So you're telling me the first woman president of the union, the first president of color of the union, that you are a single mom?
Yes, I am.
The president of the union?
Yes,
And you're very proud?
I am very proud of it. Very proud.
So-
And my son is also a union member.
And your son is also a union
Not in
member.
this union, but he is a union member.
So I want to close this way in terms of a point that I want to make to you. As you know, I've been covering politics in New York for a very long time.
Yes.
I didn't know much about unions prior to doing this segment with your outstanding members who were quite candid and honest on any given issue. I didn't know the importance of unions from I covered you unions
Yeah.
from the other side, but I didn't know this side
Yeah,
of it.
I
I just
got you.
listened to Mr. Lewis describe how union lawyers protected him on a personal level when it came to with a mortgage and when it came to a divorce situation. And so I did my homework on you and this union. And I say this with much love and much respect. I wouldn't be sitting here if I had heard bad things about this union. By every account that when I checked, I got nothing but glowing endorsements of CWA Local 1180. And so that's a compliment to you, Madam President, and to the 4 members of your union. So thank you for enlightening me so that when I'm covering unions going forward, I know the other side of the story
Yes,
now.
yes. And Dominic, we appreciate you moderating this panel discussion. I know you from New York One, and always appreciated your work and your research. I knew you would be the best fit for this. And I also want to thank our panelists for taking time out of their busy schedules to be a part of this. I think showing this to our members, they will get different perspectives too of what we do as a local, and we want to make sure our members stay involved, okay? Stay involved with your union. And also at membership meetings, bring the millennials, bring your children so that they get educated. As I told you, they're not teaching labor in school. So we have to teach them. They're not teaching the correct history in school. So
And
we
Sharon
have to
has
teach them.
kids. How old are your kids again?
My kids are 25 and 12.
25 and 12?
She had a little gap there, but it's all right.
Wow. So you have 25-year-olds.
Yes.
Wow. Well, as the president said, bring them to the union meetings.
Yes, yes. And we do have children that come, but we encourage it. Yeah. Thank you for this segment.